Hello, everyone. My name is Edward Bridges. I'm the engineering manager at Squarespace for the mobile team at Squarespace. It is really wonderful to be here with you today. This is such a beautiful, beautiful auditorium, beautiful theater, and I'm really happy to be here. Thank you all for taking the time to come and hear me talk today. So I'm really excited to spend some time talking with you today about what we've learned over the past few years in crafting mobile apps like Squarespace. Okay. No. It's working. Okay, Squarespace is a place where anyone can have a home on the internet. We provide a way for individuals and businesses to create and host websites and commerce, and to do so in a unified, easy-to-use platform. People have made millions of websites on Squarespace during the 12 years we've been in business. We have over 500 employees spanning 2 continents. Our team, the mobile team at Squarespace, provides a suite of mobile apps to support our customers when they're away from a computer. To begin, I'd like to tell you some more about our team. This is our mission statement that we drafted over a few months last year, the whole team, and I'm really proud of this, because it captures succinctly what motivates us as a team and aligns us to the vision and the values of the company. So I began with Squarespace just over 3 years ago, when there was one mobile product, 2 engineers, and an intense focus on iOS. We are now a team of 12 engineers with disciplines not only in iOS, but in Android and mobile web as well. We are based in the West Village in New York City, but spread across 3 time zones and 2 continents. And in fact, 2 of our engineers are here today, Damian and Tomislav, right over there. And they're from Croatia, too. So cheers for the home team, right? So we solve problems for users away from a desktop on the iOS, Android, and mobile web platforms. So to put some context around how and why we do what we do, let's start with the company's values. They're listed on our About page, and they set the tone for much of the work that happens in the company on a daily basis. The 6 values that we have are: be your own customer, empower individuals, design is not a luxury, good work takes time, optimize toward ideals, and simplify. While we embrace all 6 of the company values, today I'd like to draw your attention to 3 of them, since they've been very influential on how we have worked as a team. First one, design is not a luxury. Design is not something that's appended to a functional implementation. Something's been made and built already, and then you just sort of put window dressing on it. It is something that is part of how we conceive of a product. It is the practice of coalescing many details into a simple and beautiful experience. So good work takes time. We respect the creative process. So, for example, when we plan products, We do not back into arbitrary dates and set deadlines, because that ultimately, it leads designers and engineers into crafting workarounds and things that will make it work for that date, but they may not work in the longer term. So we don't talk deadlines for when we're going to release some product X or whatnot. Rather, we discuss what's involved with the feature and try to gauge its scope. And we do this as a way of seeing if we know what's involved in an effort, not in some way to come up with due dates. So the third value that I want to talk about with you was optimizing toward ideals. We pay attention to usage stats and store reviews and ratings and all that, right? And other performance metrics, but these are treated as additional data points in the scheme of all the things that you need to be concerned about in designing and constructing a product. So as I mentioned when discussing good work takes time just a moment ago, we do our best to avoid workarounds. So in favor of addressing the long-term goal. So we stand by our ideas because these are the goalposts that we use to determine our success. So our product approach over the past three or 4 years has been to hone in on an essential feature in our platform and then to refine that experience for a mobile device. Historically, these apps have been customer only, so you needed to subscribe on desktop in order to log into the app. So our current product family, up here, is Portfolio, which allows you to view galleries offline. Note, which allows you to capture ideas quickly. Blog, to update your blog from anywhere. Metrics for stats on the go. And Commerce, manage your store efficiently anywhere. And then, most recently, we have a very exciting product that we call Start. Start allows anyone to get started on our platform quickly and easily by creating a beautiful single-page website, what we call a cover page, and or a domain name. What makes this app especially exciting for us is that this is for anyone. You don't need to be a Squarespace customer. It's not just for existing customers. Currently, this app is in beta on the Android platform. You can go to the store right now, and I hope many of you do right now, and try this app out for Android. iOS is coming soon. Okay, so in this presentation, I hope to go over some of the processes that we followed in making these products over the past 3 or 4 years, and to highlight some of the things that we learned in doing so. So during this, I'm going to draw some examples from our blog app, from our Start app, and from the Commerce app. So learning from how we work is really important to the ongoing evolution of our products. To do so has led us down paths where making decisions does not mean trading off good things for bad things, because usually that's pretty easy. Instead, these are real trade-offs. We often find ourselves trying to decide among factors that have very strong positive outcomes, but we can't have both. Yet we are still at odds with each other. These values may still be at odds with each other, with the product vision, and at times, the desire to actually deliver a product. I will present these lessons as a series of trade-offs between conflicting factors and address the questions by explaining what were the benefits of these values, of these factors, what were the drawbacks, and what were the lessons that we learned from them. These lessons, though, are not prescriptive. I'm not here to give you a set of steps to follow to build your own beautiful apps. Rather, the important thing to take away is that responding to circumstances is more productive, ultimately, than reactively imposing this approach or that approach. What I'd like to show you are a few cases where we had to respond to circumstances, and then to share reflections on the path that we took, which caused us a few things to learn about how we work together. So, to begin, I would like to start with how we define ourselves as a team, the platforms we work on, and how that has influenced the way we work. We collaborate across platforms actively, and we advocate internally for the experience of users on constrained devices, not necessarily for a given platform. Simply put, we are a mobile team. We work on iOS, on Android, and JavaScript. This also influences how we build apps. Should we be iOS first? Should we follow the lead of the web platform? Or should we strike out in a direction that's different from the web platform? We've done all three of these things. Generally, we develop both native and hybrid apps, but we strive to choose the best tool for the job and to do so thoughtfully. So, some of the benefits of this are that we have developed a culture on our team of mutual respect and of sharing learning across platforms. And to that end, we share code in two of our apps on two platforms with the JavaScript code that is used on the web platform. So obviously, by sharing this code, this allows us to not have to write this functionality 2 to 3 times. But it also, the user's experience is less surprising because the way it functions on the platform is equivalent to the way it functions in the app. And what they expect on the platform is also what they find in the app. So for example, in the blog app, which you see here, so you see this, what we're doing here is we have an image block that you can drag around and it dynamically resizes and fits into the page. So we use the same JavaScript code in our layout engine on the platform to manipulate layouts and also to do the editing in the blog post. So when you type in, this is all JavaScript running within a web view on the app. And this is the same on iOS and in Android. So again, with the blog app, this is the same view on iOS on your left and an Android on the right. So we've done some things to customize this. So you see this when you swipe left, which is a typical gesture on Android. It exposes some options there that you find differently on the iOS app. In addition, there's controls up at the top for posts and switching to comments, which is again is a similar concept in iOS, but not on Android. So the iOS version we built first, and we strove to do so as simply as possible. So that was built by 2 engineers who, out of necessity, their personal reasons, they needed to work remotely. And they were new to the company, and they didn't have a deep relationship with the server engineers. So a lot of the work that they were doing, they had to figure out on their own by reverse engineering endpoints and whatnot. So when we built it then on Android, I assembled a cross-functional team, and I recruited a server engineer who was interested in learning Android onto our team. We had a new Android engineer, and we worked with a JavaScript engineer from another team in our company to work on that app as well. So they had a lot to follow in terms of what was done in the iOS app. But what ended up happening was that we ended up having these relationships established already in the company. And the engineers were able to work more on improving the endpoints that were used and refactor the app and make the app experience a lot better. So it ended up taking just as much time, but we had a really good app as a result of it. And the endpoints in the application architecture ended up being much more improved. And lastly, we started building a culture within the team, not only around Android, but in a way of working. And that was really exciting. Those are some of the benefits, right? So the drawbacks that I started to hint at is when you develop products for both platforms, you inevitably lose some time. And you lose that time toward repeated effort. And so in this case, if in an ideal world, when we were building iOS, we would have had server team engineers working with the other engineers, and maybe we would have built it right the first time. But, you never get all of that, right? But, so we tried to optimize that work when we built Android, but then other things came up. We had more people involved. So you had a network effect, more people talking to more people. So by having to include the concerns of multiple platforms in our considerations, it led to coordinating architectures between mobile web, between the server and the web platform and the mobile platform. So more people equals more time. So the lessons here on this point, right? I think you don't be religious about your platform. Approach the work with an open mind, and of course, follow your customers. So if your customer base is on Android, would it make sense to start working on iOS? So, and also, it's very important to assume that you might be wrong about your platform. Sometimes you have people who are real fans of iOS or fans of Android, and sometimes they're blinded to some things that are not ideal about their platform. So the other thing is sometimes, even when you start with one platform, and then you go to the other one, you're going to find you're re-engineering the first platform. So even if you try to do one and then the other, you're going to get to a point where you're working on both platforms in parallel. Because once something has been used for a while, great designers, they reimagine it. They're like, well, what if it were actually a little bit more like this? Which is fine. And that's really good because it makes the product better. But that may cause engineers to go back and revisit decisions and rewrite things. Next. How do we begin? So we learned a lot about how to start new projects. Sometimes we started with an idea that we were excited by, then went directly into iterating in pixel-perfect design and code to manifest that idea. This was done in the spirit of discovery, of research, and discovering and exploring ideas. Other times, we began with a mission statement. We started with taking input from a wide array of people to understand better what we want to build. So the benefits here is that we found that harnessing the inspiration and excitement of a small group of people to do exciting things pushes them to doing things in a way they hadn't imagined. For example, the Start app. That began as a Hack Week project by Aaron on our team about 1.5 years ago. He thought it would be exciting to have a camera app. And that using that camera app, you could use that to create cover pages. Again, our one-page website. So starting with that idea, we went down a long, exciting, yet difficult path, and ended up with something that is totally different, but retains the original excitement that he had and that all of us had when we first used his app. On the other hand, there's an attraction to working from a fully fleshed out idea. That that everyone involved understands the overall picture. And from an engineering standpoint, to know that everybody agrees on what you're going to work on and it's all like buttoned up, that's great. That's really fantastic because you know what you need to do. You can plan your architecture, you can get yourself all set up, and then go cranking on code. So the benefits here, chasing inspiration brings huge payoffs when it works. But as stakeholders increased, as our company grew, so did the risk. The risk of interruption. Someone saying, oh, but I thought you were going to do it this way. So if the motivation for the originating idea was not clear, and the originating idea evolved over the course of time, it was hard to shift things after the development started. And this was hard not only for engineers, but for designers as well. And if a shift in ideas arose from a stakeholder, designers sometimes found themselves having to rethink and come up with a different way of conceiving a feature, or sometimes a significant path for the app, and occasionally the entire product itself. On the flip side, if server engineers change direction, that can affect the app too. And one example, so in the startup, when someone charges a subscription for the app, originally that was a synchronous operation. And at some point during the course of development, there was discussion around, well, the billing endpoint was taking longer than we expected, and the server engineers were looking to switch that to be an asynchronous endpoint. Well, that would change the entire application around, because if you go to charge your card, if it's synchronous, you know right away. You get a response back, and you're like, okay, I'm good to go, and I'm going to go off and do something else. If it's asynchronous and you go off to do something else in the app, well, you may hear 5, 10 seconds later that, oh, actually that didn't work. You have to go back here now. And that's a totally different experience in the app. So, over the course of the past 3 or 4 years, we grew as a team as well as a company. So I already talked about how we started as a couple of mobile engineers. And at that time, we were less than 100 people in the company. And we've been successful. Yay! So now the company is over 500 people, right? So as we got bigger as a team and a company, these are good problems to have, but it became a lot harder to manage building directly from an idea. Interruptions had a higher cost, and even more so if we didn't have consensus. So, and lastly, we don't actually know what other people want. Sometimes you release something out into the world and people end up using it in ways you never expected. And trying to broaden the scope of people who are involved in it earlier in the process has better knock-on effects. Excuse me. So far, I've discussed some thoughts about how we organize and initiate projects. After a project has begun, we now turn our focus to how we actually work together as a team. So we've experienced a couple different ways of collaborating. Early on, we organically formed teams of 2 to 3 people around an idea. An engineer, a couple of engineers, a designer, and gave them wide latitude to work on this idea and just see what they came up with. So for this, I encourage kind of Kanban style of working. So that's a term from project management methodologies. It has a lot of meanings. So what it meant to me and what it means to me now are, first off, leadership at all levels. All right? So I encourage inspiration and allow individuals complete freedom to drive the overall development. Second, incremental evolutionary change. Start with a broad idea and design and develop that idea over an extended period of time. And third, highly collaborative. Work as a tightly knit, small group of design and engineering. So as we grew and had larger teams, it was useful at times to have more structure around our development. So we evolved additional characteristics. Product ownership. So as we grew, I decided that we needed more accountability around the product's vision. And so I put in place a representative for the product's vision who distinguishes priorities and kind of keeps things on track. A product manager, if you will. So the second thing is punctuating change. So rather than having just a long stretch of evolutionary development, punctuate it. Regular sprints. Right? Planning meetings to discuss priorities and raise issues. Probably pretty familiar to most of you. And then thirdly, retrospective thinking. Frank, open discussions around things that need to be improved. And kind of checking your ego at the door and just, realizing that sometimes you have to change what you're doing and think differently about what you're doing in order to improve. So the benefits here is closely collaborating allows design to be much better informed about what the possibilities are. Sometimes a designer may just kind of go off on a tangent and then realize that, whoa, this is really hard to make. And having them, working directly with engineers, sometimes just sitting next to each other. The engineer can be like, well, if you just did it a little bit like that, it'd be a lot easier. And the designer's like, I see, I understand. Right? And that kind of thing, is really important. And engineers felt more empowered to impact product development. So it's not just something that's handed off to engineers in this process. Engineers actually have a role to play in building, in deciding on what's being built. And so because of this close collaboration, a lot of these decisions were driven by what the designers and the engineers felt was important. So, and then in this other approach, marking improvements via sprints has improved the sense of productivity among engineers. You have a way of stopping and saying and reflecting, being like, okay, this is done, now we can move on to this. That's very helpful. So, when more than a few people are involved in product decisions at various times, the ultimate goals of the product get blurred and confusing the development. So, and when we work Kanban style, everyone's ideas tend to have merit. And as a result, sometimes we were reluctant to say no when we probably should have. So, when we didn't work that way, when we worked more in this kind of mission-oriented approach, there were times when we ended up being more, less driven by our intuition and more driven by user testing or decisions by consensus. Instead of doing the right thing, doing what kind of the majority of people said was good. So, as we work together, we uncovered a trade-off around how we design and build our user interfaces in the mobile apps. So let's consider the usage of custom and stock user interface elements or controls. These are the widgets that you will see in an app, the buttons, the sliders, the drop-down boxes and text boxes and things like that. So, I'm sorry. Okay. So we always have the option of creating custom functional controls in the user interface. It may take more time, but it can add up to having a powerful effect. On the other hand, alternatively, there are controls whose appearance is styled by us, but the functionality is part of the platform itself, iOS or Android. And this is quicker from an engineering standpoint, It can be a little bit more challenging for design when the user experience is complex, but everybody's familiar with these controls already in the way they look and the way they function. So this is an example of a customized data entry screen in our Android, in the Start app for Android. And you see here, this app is constrained to a landscape orientation because many of our cover page layouts are horizontal. So, but this app, because it supports billing, so you need credit card data entry, you can buy a domain name, so you have to enter in your address a few times. So it requires a lot of data entry from the user. And so that's kind of tedious. So what we did, we built these controls that allow you to enter in all that information in a slider that goes across in a very constrained space because half the screen is taken up by the keyboard. So the purpose of this app is to give people a flavor of Squarespace, to get them excited about the platform so that they'll enter in a credit card number. And so as a result, it's deeply crafted to gain an effect and to leave an impression. So this is another example of a custom control. This is, of a stock control. So this is the site picker in our Commerce app. So this screen, you'll see right here, is a list of the websites that the user has. And this app, the purpose of this app is if you are a Squarespace customer and you have a store, this allows you to manage inventory, to mark orders as fulfilled, to set up shipping and tracking information for the customer. So this is almost a hidden element in the app, right? And it's utilitarian, it's unobtrusive. It's just a very simple list of websites that you select one and then you go to do your work. Gets out of the way. So this is back to the Start app now. And again, I mentioned that this is an app serving a very different purpose. So as I mentioned in Commerce, the site chooser is almost hidden, whereas here it is front and center. This is the first thing you see when you go into the app. And it really shows off your website. So let's go back. So again, here it is. It's just a white screen. And here you have this really beautiful presentation of your app, and then you select it, and then you can go in and edit those buttons on the right. You can change your layout, select a different background image, and so forth. So this took a long time. Everybody would have liked to release it sooner. But it's a really cool idea, and we would think about, well, what if it were like this? So we wanted to get it right, and sometimes you only have one opportunity to get something right. So why do things this way, right? And I mean, we've discussed that to some extent already about getting effect and all that, right? From a business or an investor's point of view, it's not ideal to just iterate. But Squarespace has a dedication to the idea of the product. Remember what I said, I talked about optimizing for ideals. And our customers have bought into that. They expect that. And it's really not negotiable. And so our business rests on that idea. And our success seems to have validated that. I think it has validated that. So the benefit of these custom UIs is that you can have something that's surprising and it's delightful. It's not something that other apps will have. And it can be much more engaging. Now, on the other side, by working with stock controls thoughtfully, we can obtain a result that is fresh, but with lower development costs, and iterate more rapidly, allowing more focus on the user problem that you're trying to solve. So on the drawbacks of these two things, custom controls may create visual cues that a user is unfamiliar with and are unaccustomed to. Using stock controls with complex user experiences, on the other hand, may make things more confusing. You know, as the user experience becomes more complex, it goes beyond the use case of those controls. And you may assemble them in some way that works to solve the problem, but users are like, well, I don't understand. Why is this drop-down box allowing me to choose things that I don't normally choose in a drop-down box? So, back to custom controls, they're a lot more work to build and maintain. You don't get it right the first time. It takes time with a designer trying different ideas and different approaches, and the engineer crafting that in code, directly drawing the visual elements. So, by carefully managing fonts and dimensions and colors and whatnot, a designer is more than capable of creating beautiful screens using stock components. And the flip side, there's going to be times when more than that is merited. So it's very important to think carefully about the purpose and the goal of the app and to optimize your experiences appropriately. So different apps have different purposes, right? That's what I just said. And the balance of customization depends on that purpose. So finally, how should we unveil our hard work to the world? How do we release? When do we say we're done? So we work extensively with both of these approaches. At first, an explosive release. You only release after everyone involved, all the stakeholders, and the team, all their expectations have been met. You build everything into a 1.0 that has everything. On the other hand, you can unfold everything, unfold the release, defer some expectations into the interest of meeting others, and roll them out later on. Start with a minimum viable product, and iterate releases over time to meet the expectations. So releasing more frequently, I think it was a pretty common I think a lot of people are very familiar with this as well, is it gives you more opportunities to push fixes and more opportunities to tweak things. And then you'll also have the opportunity to get feedback from more of your users and how the users are experiencing them. Remember what I said before. You put things into the user's hand, and they're going to have a totally different experience of it than what you ever expected. And so this is your opportunity to hear from them and to change it and move to improve it. But big releases provide for big impressions. You can make a splash. The classic example is Steve Jobs, unveiling the iPhone. He's like, one more thing. And you're like, wow. Everybody's like, whoa, that's so cool, right? But if you released it a month ago, you don't have that opportunity. Somebody's already out there talking about it. They're writing articles and reviews in the paper or whatever, and they're like, and then they don't really get it and because you didn't have the opportunity to do it the way you really originally envisioned. So, what are the drawbacks? I think the obvious one is, a hazard that we face when working on big releases is that you get lost in figuring out what you want to do. So, building 1.0 is harder than building the 1.1, the 1.2, the 1.3. Sometimes I wonder about that. I'm like, is that really true? But it does seem like sometimes that can be the case. And but sometimes you want to or you need to build things in such a way that you want it to be crafted into something first. before you release it. So when you're working on these kind of big releases, right, it's very important to figure out that MVP early on and to understand, what this app is, what is the point of it. Otherwise, the product will try to become everything that the team expects it to be. Maybe the solution is to time box that first iteration. Maybe say 3 months in, we're going to stop and we're going to say, is this ready? Is this something we should keep working on? So as I discussed in how we begin earlier, defining a mission for each app is helpful in guiding these decisions. You can and then later on, you can test the priority of your decisions based on that original mission statement. Okay, so today I'd introduce you to the values that are core to how we build products on the mobile team at Squarespace, and then how these values played out in how we worked, and what we've learned from doing so. So as a reminder, the company values that I reviewed with you are: design is not a luxury, good work takes time, and optimize towards ideals and a vision. So the important things that I've reviewed with you, select which experiences to optimize in order to make the effect greater. Rely on common approaches wherever possible. And work with platforms thoughtfully. Weigh the strengths and weaknesses of each, and follow your customer base. Third, choose a platform to iterate the user interface on when possible. But there will be points where you'll be designing for both platforms in parallel. Next, figure out the minimum viable product early on in the process. Otherwise, the product will try to become everything that the team expects. And when starting from an idea that is more conceptual, it's important to be clear about that. Right? Time box and check in on what the product currently is and what you originally thought it was. And do a comparison. Because often it's going to be different. If you were clear at the beginning and everybody's not really aligned on it, as you go on in the process, you're going to end up with something that's different. Because everybody's going to have an idea about what it should be. And if you're in a situation like that, understand that it's going to be very difficult to prioritize because you don't all agree on what's important. So, the other thing that we learned is don't do long, open-ended development with more than 2 to 3 people. Too many opinions blur the goals. Too many ideas about what it should be. Maximize the feedback that you get regarding the product direction. So as you're working on it, show it to people. But rely on written feedback if you have many developers. And defer to a product owner to referee and make decisions. As we got bigger as a team and a company, it became more challenging to build directly from the ideas of a few. And with more stakeholders, the opportunity for interruption of development became problematic. So, I hope you found this useful. And, to remind you, this is only our experience. I'm sure you have different experiences. And, I'd enjoy hearing from you and discussing your experiences. Thank you very much. So just as a reminder, as I mentioned, as Luca had mentioned earlier in his presentation, it's really hard to find great engineers for mobile, so we're hiring. Thank you very much.